Thank you, Honorable Minister, for giving the overview to state-owned enterprises. I'd like to acknowledge our Prime Minister who graced us on Monday. And I'd like to acknowledge Minister Wong, who is with us, member for Kainan 2, members of parliaments, governors, vice ministers, heads of government departments, governor of the Bank of Papua New Guinea, our dear friends, Diane Buckley and other partners who are here. I'd like to specifically acknowledge my chairs of state-owned enterprises been able to come down for this important conference. Chairman Moses Maladina, Chairman of Kumul Consolidated Holdings, thank you. Chairman of ANL, New Guinea Limited, Water PNG, Chair is here, Telecom Chair is here, PPL Chair, Kumul Agriculture Limited Chair, National Development Bank Chair, and all our partners, particularly the two other holding companies, Kumul Minerals Holdings Limited, Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, and Managing Director MRDC, who is here, were very, very important partners of KCH. And of course, the Managing Director of National Energy Authority. I'd like to acknowledge your presence as well. And of course, distinguished guests. This morning, when I came here, I went back to reading ACIL Desmond report in 2008, titled High Stakes, that was written for ExxonMobil. That was the first report that was framed at the eve of the first boom, which is the PNG LNG. And that report highlighted so much growth and potential for the country. We are on the second phase of the boom. The difference is that the first boom was triggered by one project. The second boom is going to be triggered by 8 projects. So it's going to be a massive boom. When we were facing framing the Vision 2050, we considered 3 scenarios. One is a do-nothing scenario, but you'd still be growing at 4% on your GDP. And then we suggested that you release 6% of land, of arable land for development. And then you'd be growing at about an additional about 6%. And with Papua LNG all combined, you'd be growing at 8%. So tracking forward that important economic modeling needs to be done to ensure that broad-based growth happens for the country, and that we take advantage of the opportunities. The state-owned enterprises play a critical role. So we were talking about land at that time. But if you add on state-owned enterprises, and we fix the state-owned enterprises, the growth would be much more higher because the growth would be broad-based, and the resources will be allocated from the resources sector to the renewable sector, thereby creating employment and all other benefits. This is the outline of my presentation, and I'll be brief because there's 4 speakers after me. To provide an overview of KCH, state-owned the SOE contribution to development, our ESG responsibilities, the roadmap, the new strategy we're driving, and the objectives, the extractive sector projects that we in, and high impact infrastructure projects, and the contribution to the economy through the green economy. This is just some opening remarks around the importance of state-owned enterprises established by KCH Act 2002. We are a trustee to the General Business Trust, which is the one and only balance sheet for the country. The worth of that balance sheet is about 3.8 billion net, total assets about 5.4 billion. All the backbone infrastructure in all those sectors that the Honourable Minister Dumai has outlined. About 10 companies, going 11. outline is there in terms of the overall balance sheet. All the investments in infrastructure throughout the country is actually booked on this general balance sheet, and the directors of KCH are trustees to that balance sheet. SOE's contribution to PNG's development. One of the key challenges for state-owned enterprises is we're not just commercial, but we take a large responsibility for community service obligations, which is worth about 643 million per annum, and that money has to be drawn from the balance sheet. And to an extent, and more recently in the last 4 years, the Marape government has been contributing a lot more towards CSO responsibilities, providing power, water, ports, and throughout the country. In terms of taxes, 1.2 billion per year, as well as all the, that's inclusive of all the income tax that are paid by employees. Dividend payment, we paid 80 million last year and 150 million this year. Next year, the budget is pegged 250 million, so there's a challenge for all the state-owned enterprises. In terms of total employees, over 6,000 employees who pay tax. In terms of contribution to GDP, it's about 2%, and we want to grow that contribution to the national GDP. The overall, we're contributing to improved services that enhances quality of life. As ministers pointed out, we won't be able to take advantage of the benefits of the resource boom if the infrastructures are not in place throughout the country, and that's where SOEs come in together with our colleague holding companies. ESG responsibilities. In terms of environment, we ensure compliance to regulation compliance. Marine safety is priority. We're moving into renewable energy, solar and hydro, potentially looking at hydrogen as well, ammonia, as mentioned by MD Wapusong and others. Water and Sanitation Act. In terms of social SOE community service obligations, 80% of what SOEs provide is CSO. That's the cost that the state enterprises carry for the country, and subsidized by the balance sheet, subsidized by 3 or 4 profitable centers: Port Moresby, Lae, Rabaul, or Kimbe, in terms of ports or power. And we want to ensure that with the AIFFP funding for ports, we want to introduce more profitable ports. Women directorship, it's 30%. Gender, diversity, disabilities, sponsorship, we're also including disabilities an important criteria for directorship as well. Governance, SOE reform, we've run SOE reform since 2019. That's placed SOEs where they are today. Amended the KCH governance and transparency. We won a transparency award for transparency for whistleblowers policy 2 years back. In terms of roadmap, as the minister pointed out, stabilize, invest, grow. We're nearly completing stabilization, and we're moving towards investing in the growth areas. That's the area that our directors of KCH and state-owned enterprises are looking at value-adding investments to be made in the growth areas, and what great potential is there than what we have now. We have the greatest opportunity. Just as an example of stabilizing the balance sheet, we took audit issues from 3 years of audit. It was summarily brought up in 2020, 21, 22, took those issues, and this year we sought to address all the audit issues. You now have progressed all the audit status of SOEs up to unqualified status. Only 3 companies are in the disclaimer status. So we're working around the clock to move them up in order to prepare for the boom. KCH is a strategic document that we hopefully we will launch before Christmas, and the focus is on financial sustainability, delivery excellence, customer growth, the focus on customer growth, quantifying who our customers are, and then we move towards what sort of quality of services we are offering. And Cabinet is holding all SOEs to account, and then we're going to town hall meetings to let the community hold their companies to account. Governance and transparency, and workforce culture, and partner engagements. On the extractive sector, as I pointed out, this boom is very, very important because the PNG economy has always been self-correcting since independence. When it goes through a booms and busts. So when there is a bust, all you have to do in the past was to just open one more mine, one more resource project, and it creates that next round of boom. Right now, we are at the words of a boom that's going to be powered by 8 projects, more than 8 projects, and that's going to be massive. It will have an impact on the exchange rate, it will have an impact on the balance of payments, and the overall macroeconomy. Okay, in terms of high-impact infrastructure projects, Minister has highlighted the investments that we're making in New Guinea and looking for partnerships. New Guinea massive refleeting program, retraining and capacity building all throughout pilots, engineers, crew, and so on, so forth, and ports or water PNG. As Minister pointed out, there's 3 EOIs out for Port Moresby, Lae, and Mount Hagen in terms of expressions of interest. So currently, these 3, once these 3 projects come on, it will generate an additional 325 millions of litres per day, and that will include wastewater management as well. So Ministers highlighted all those areas. I'll skip those and just move on straight to the green opportunities. Green economy is emerging as very important. I like to think that we are already in that space, but we're framing it under green economy. In terms of Ramu 2, we're offering Ramu 2 as a major project, a major service provider to a major mine, and we'd like to have conversations with Newmont, Harmony, to ensure that this project can potentially generate 180 megs. But what it does is that it optimizes your forward and backward linkages into the local economy, without which broad-based economic growth is not going to be possible unless we are service providers to tap into the benefits. Ramu 2 is designed to supply power to WAFI. We're going back 10 years. We talk about long-term planning and 80 million kina commitment to this project. That's what IPBC did, that's what KCH did back in the day, and we're just taking that through. And hopefully we talk to the partners and bring it to fruition. Ramu 2 and Nauru Brown, that's another 80 megs in Port Moresby. And PNG Dams is the company, it's a subsidiary of KCH that carries all the dams. We own Sirinamu and we own Yonki, and we're looking towards expanding that out. These are key green economic enablers to support the government's long-term power sector development, especially where you're dealing with transitional energy. PNG's abundant hydropower potential further supports the government's aim to increase the amount of clean, renewable energy in the national energy mix. As an example, Yalu Solar in Lae, just outside of Najab. KCH bought a piece of land, working with AIFFP and DFED to get this project off the ground. It's about 10 megs. It will supplement the supply of power on the Ramu grid. It includes battery storage or a BESS system suitable for smoothing out the disruption to intermittent supply of power. We're talking with partners such as Total Energies who manufacture these products. Gazelle Solar, we recently signed a MOU with the East New Britain Provincial Government. Minister Wong is here. This project is, although it's known as the Gazelle Solar, is actually is New Britain's solar project. It's potentially contribute 5 megs, and working with Kumul Petroleum to co-sponsor this project. D-Loop Plantation is in Madang. Got potential for green, carbon credits, contributing to the green economy. We're working all our plantations. This is one of the key plantations. As the figures are there, as you know, 2,500 hectares of land. And recently, when we were discussing how we would focus the SOE efforts onto a special economic zone, particularly the PMIZ. So what we did was we went to Yalu and we said, a solar farm can be at Yalu. That will supply power to PMIZ to support fisheries, which is your blue economy. Then in terms of water, we brought water PNG to Madang. They've done the costings around providing the enabling infrastructure to support this clustering project in Madang. We also have Cape Rodney, an additional plantation that we want to bring back on. It's a land of 1,600 hectares. It's a rubber estate that needs to be reinvested in, and we're looking for partners. There's 6 portions of land there. The potential for carbon credits is there. In addition to that, we're working with Namatanai district to take large-scale plantations in the Namatanai district and bring them into agricultural production, also contributing to carbon credits. Kumul Shipping is our other initiative for the domestic market, mainly. We're looking at partners to get an investment into getting shipping around the country back up, because you only have about 1 or 2 shipping companies in the country, and the costs are quite exorbitant. So work has progressed towards operationalizing that model. All right, I think and then of course, this has the potential to ferry your LNG, LPG domestically, fuel Jet A1, fuel and cargoes for domestic market. That will ensure security of energy in the country, that you've got to take control of the supply of energy domestically. You know, on the international front, there's a lot of players that's already taken care of. Way forward, the future of PNG socioeconomic growth depends on unlocking state-owned SOE infrastructure. And KCH will continue to support and work with its partners to drive these high-impact infrastructure projects: power, water, telecommunications, ports, airlines, postal services, etc. PPP is the arrangement, one of the preferred modality of partnerships. To get that through, as Minister pointed out, it could be a bolt, build, operate, lease, transfer, or boot, etc. SO infrastructure modeling for SEZ investment is very, very critical. That's the field of industrial economics. It's Professor Alfred Marshall. You've got to own in on the cluster, on the industrial cluster, and ensure that all the locational amenities are in place. Then you generate scale, and you generate economies of scale and economies of scope. So we will seriously looking at that area. Downstream processing plants and export facilities. It's important for the tradable part of the economy and the non-tradable part of the economy. The non-tradable part of the economy has got to grow in order to address issues of inflation. Supply chain issues, you have a well-oiled supply chain issues. The presentation by ANZ economists brought some truth home. The resources, even though you leverage your monetary policies accordingly, it's not moved the resources to the right places because there's just too much structural issues in the economy, particularly around the supply chain. But through Connect PNG, you will have a well-oiled supply chain. And what we say is that every road leads to a port. And through the port comes imports and exports. But if your containers are going out empty, you're not exporting. Every river flows from the mountain to the sea. We have to create a well-oiled economy to function that will generate your broad-based economic growth. Thank you.